Welcome back. We're taking you back to one of our top stories tonight, which is the arrest, which was announced around this time last night, of two Gupta brothers and the possible extradition process that's set to get underway now that they've been arrested in the United Arab Emirates, that's in Dubai. Let's talk about this with Defend Our Democracy's Reverend Frank Chikane. Reverend, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the program. So the Justice Department says that conversations now or process will soon begin or is ongoing with officials in the UAE to try and extradite the Guptas to come stand trial here. But they too are clear that there's likely to be quite a fight to get them here. So how significant do you think the arrest of the two brothers actually is in real terms?
Well, I must say that it's significant because we have been protesting. I was one of those who went to the United Arab Emirates embassy to go and protest there and demand that they extradite the Guptas to come and account for what they did in South Africa. And the commission has become very clear about how key they were in state capture operations here. We are interested in all the money that has been sent out of this country, and I'm definitely sure it would be through illegal channels and means, and research has been done in that regard. So we need them here. And so we are pleased that the United Arab Emirates has acted on this matter. We know it's going to take long. We know in terms of the legal systems that there are all sorts of procedures they could use to delay it. Mm-hmm. But we are pleased that at least they've been arrested for these alleged crimes that they've committed. And we're looking forward to them coming back here to South Africa and account.
Well, some South Africans reacting, at least from what I've read online and on some of the talk radio stations today, are quite underwhelmed by this news. They say it's not the first time we have news of an apparent massive development towards accountability for alleged state capture and the looting of the public purse. But all of that often comes to nothing as far as convictions, I should say, are concerned. Do you share that concern?
Well, I'm hoping that that will not be the case because there was lots of investigation. The commission put up a huge team to do investigations, and the National Prosecution Authority is just taking over from there. I think it's going to be how the evidence is handled. I mean, I watched the Maywa case today. You can see how it is easy to lose a case just because the police didn't handle it the way they should handle it, or there were other dynamics in it. And so we're hoping in this particular case, we're going to have our hawk's eyes on it, and we're going to make sure that the justice is done and that the NPA has to shape up to make sure that this case is handled properly. I mean, the director, national director, has committed herself, and she said in the next 6 months you're going to see arrests happening. They've begun to happen. So we need to encourage them rather than send doubts about their commitment.
We could also argue that South Africans have good reason to be skeptical because in the past promises have been made but not really kept. But I don't want us to dwell on that too much. I'd like to get your thoughts on something else. Some suggestion now, people suggesting that there may be a link between the arrest of the two Gupta brothers and developments around that robbery at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm and accusations that there was a cover-up there. Where do you stand?
Well, I don't want to be a commentator, really. I think I came here as DOD, Defend Our Democracy, and I don't want to speculate. I think we need to accept that when people are under pressure, there would be all sorts of other dynamics that crop up, and the country should be ready for it. By the way, I have said in the past that when you have a capture of the state, and you ending up with the capture of the intelligence services, the police, the army, and the courts, and the prosecution authority, you can end up in an Italian mafia scenario. But I don't want to go into that area because it involves intelligence people. As you know, I've been nominated for Parliament to deal with the IGI. So I don't want to get into prematurely into those debates.
And I don't want to go into the issues of, well, too much of intelligence-related issues based on your nomination. But if I may, the president has been criticized for his handling and what was reported and when. This happened in 2020. We're only learning of it now. Did he do things properly?
I really wouldn't want to. I think DOD is discussing the matter and they'll make a comment about that particular matter.
So, and I'm speaking to you, Reverend, pardon me, as part of Defend Our Democracy, and that's why I was putting these questions to you, because one of the criticisms of organizations such as yourself is that you are quick to issue statements and give comment when it is the likes, for example, of people who are aligned to former President Jacob Zuma, but when the finger of accusation or allegations is pointed at someone like President Ramaphosa, then you are spending a lot more time, shall we say, discussing your position or not even stating a position. That's why I was asking you.
No, I left a meeting of the DOD discussing this matter. So the statement will be made. No, I don't agree with you. We have not acted in a biased way. We dealt with issues as they happened. And we dealt with matters that have been dealt with in court. So we have not been speculating about people's alleged crimes, etc. The point is, in the last instance that caused us to form the DOD, it's when the Constitution was being violated and put aside. I mean, if people refuse to appear in a commission, that's a serious matter. It doesn't need an investigation. You say, I'm not going to go to a commission. It has nothing to do with us taking sides with anybody. If people who are armed begin to form militia and we see it, it's not a biased attitude. Okay. It's about reality. So the DOD has not worked in the space of speculation. And it has said that where there's suspicion, there must be full investigation. And if people are found to have committed a crime, they must be charged and sent to prison. And we have said people must put on the overalls. It doesn't matter. I've said before, whether it is the president or former president, it doesn't matter. Our Constitution does not make a difference between the president of a country and an ordinary citizen. If a president commits a crime, the president needs to be charged. And accordingly, if there is suspicion, investigate it. And I think that's what people have said, that there is an investigation because charges have been laid, and therefore the DOD will make its own comment about that. But I'm just saying I don't think it's correct to say that we are biased. We are working on the respect for the Constitution and defense of our democracy. Anybody who does anything that threatens our democracy, I will not be quiet because it threatens our democracy, and whether it's the president or anybody else. But I don't want to go into the media issues. The DOD will deal with that. I just left the meeting now to come to you.
Right, and I appreciate that, but what I was pointing out is perhaps the lapse of time between when the actual criminal complaint was laid last week and where we are now. But as we move on, as you said, in principle, your position as Defend Our Democracy is that where there is wrongdoing, even if it involves the president, even though discussions are ongoing, that should then be pursued and possibly people prosecuted. More generally then, Reverend Chikane, the constant air of scandal and suspicion around the people who sit at the union buildings as president of this country. It's been something that's been going on for years now, over a decade. How damaging do you think it is for the country to constantly be dealing with these issues, these scandals, especially when you consider the very real issues that are facing us, from unemployment, poor health care, housing, the very real issues that we should be facing or dealing with, but often having to respond to crises to do with whoever is president?
No. I mean, you know, we formed, I was part of the veterans who organized themselves in 2015 to say what is happening in this country is detrimental to the country. It's capturing the state and redirecting its energies and resources to serve the interests of individuals rather than the people of South Africa. And so that's why we stood up and took a stand. And we stood up now as DOD to take a stand and say we can't allow this. And in the midst of all this, you will have allegations and counter-allegations and people who don't want to go to jail, who resist any activity that will take them to courts. And we need to bring that to an end. So the president, as president of the country, must lead that. He can't be part of that. He needs to lead the process. He's a commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's the head of the state. That's what you expect out of a president. But indeed, the shenanigans that have been happening within the party and the challenges they face there are a negative in the development of the country. But we need to accept that in the last few years, we have had hard positions taken to stop this. The Commission is one of those. The National Prosecution Authority has taken that position. There is a cleanup within the police, intelligence services, and we are hoping that the country will come back to be on the rails again. As I remember, we reached a stage where the growth rate of this country by 2008, I think 7, we were at 5.6%. I mean, the country did reach certain heights, and we came tumbling, and we must take it back again to where this country belongs.
The problem, though, Reverend, is that the people who took the country to those heights or helped take it to those heights some are saying that very governing ANC that's now undone that very progress.
Yeah, but I'm saying that in the last many years, the things went wrong. That's why we took a stand. I wouldn't have gone out and go back again and take a stand in 2015. It's because we saw that the country was at risk. And now, the year ago, we again took a stand and formed the DOD to make sure that we protect our democracy. And we have now convened a conference on the 1st and 2nd of July, as you know. We are calling on the leadership of the people of South Africa outside the party political structures to come and discuss how we are going to make sure there is change in the country in a way that renewal, in a way that will make our democracy serve the people of South Africa rather than otherwise. And it's going to involve many other things, including the constitution, including how you deal with the security forces, including how you deal with public service. All those issues are going to be on the table.
Thank you. Reverend Frank Chikane from Defend Our Democracy. Good to have your time tonight, sir. Thank you.